Hello and welcome once again to another podcast of the show called For the Gambia. I'm your host, Modu Thomas, together with,
My name is Pastor Inseka.
and we're glad once again to have another Gambian, a mother, a sister, and somebody who has done her part and continue to do her part when it comes to the Gambia, both home and while living in the U.S. None other than our sister, our mom, our auntie, Aminah Faal Sonko, who resides in Raleigh, North Carolina, here in the USA. And today we'll be talking a lot about her, how she started her life, and what she has for the Gambia, because she has a vast knowledge that she can share with us, the younger generation, the present government, and the generations to come. We're humbled to have her in our midst. Madam Aminah Faal Sonko, welcome to For the Gambia show.
Thank you for having me.
Let's begin the usual way. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up from, a background about your parents, and when did you came to the U.S.
Um, I was born on December 8th, 1954, a daughter of Madiki Fall and Jenna Bojang. I attended school beginning at Mohammedan Primary School and ended up at Methodist Preparatory and Kindergarten School and then to Armitage School. And from there, I came to the US on a high school scholarship with St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Maryland. And yeah, I'm married. I have three children. And I'm a proud Gambian and ever ready to help and also to put forth ideas and projects that could help foster Gambia to the next millennium.
Awesome. When you mentioned the name, the late Madika Fall, so many people heard about him. What was he like a father? What kind of a father was he?
Wow, he was a good father who um, I would say who run his family with the core of discipline for his children as well as children that are around the neighbors. He inculcated in us to live by the truth, that it was important that your relationship with people should be fostered with truth
Hmm.
and love, honesty, by all means necessary.
So, can you just kind of give us a little bit of highlights about your childhood days, some of the memorable things that you've done, and just things that people may not know about you, you know?
Well, at Amite School, I like to remember myself as being called a tomboy. I was very good with athletics, and it is no doubt that I ended up being a physical education, health, and recreation graduate. Um, I spent my time at Armitage um, being called a tomboy because I was good in sports. I'm always playing with the boys, football, basketball, you name it, I was there. But my time at Armitage is something that I really value because Armitage at that time, the discipline that we learned has fostered a lot in me. For example, the school had a Saturday that we had to learn to clean, wash our uniforms, fix beds, and there was a competition whereby they were awarded trophies for the most clean dormitory and kunda, because the boys they competed more on the different kundas like Saunders, Maclean, Hamlin, Grey Kunda. Those days, the discipline that the youth had, we lack in ours because during that time, just about anybody can come and discipline your child. But our generation, we find it I find it distasteful when we have people saying, when you want to correct a child, they tell you that, dafa tek xale bi but. I cannot see how a child who has nothing, hasn't grown, what an adult can, see in that child that's going to bring that type of, negative vibes. It's usually out of a good place, because I remember if I see my aunties coming and I'm out in the street doing something, I would run.
Yes.
But the present generation, they will stand there and look at you and say, "Hello, Auntie Aminah, nanga def." It's never "Assalamu alaikum,"
Yes.
because we wouldn't dare do something like that. When we were sent somewhere, they would spit on the ground and say, "Before the spit dries, I want you back
I
home."
remember those.
Yep.
You remember those days?
Yes.
These
You have
are,
to run.
Yeah, you have to run and make sure you come back fast before that, the spit dries.
That's right.
We have really lacked that discipline, in our generation, because we are more like they say in Wolof, jaboti kanara. Xale yi jiitu ñu toppa seen gannaaw. When it was the other way around. We have to be mindful of that. That, we have to, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
If we say it, we must practice it. We must learn to allow others to discipline and guide the young. This would help in making us better adults of tomorrow.
Okay. So now with the whole discipline thing, I was I I used to play basketball with one of your kids, Malforde.
Right.
He was known as a very disciplined kid. Is this discipline that you've been saying? Is this how you raised your kids?
Yes, of course.
Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah, I
that?
followed my father's footsteps to make sure that I discipline my kids to know they are adults, to know who their aunties are and who their uncles are. I would call my younger brothers Uncle Share, Uncle Lai, Uncle Bais. They are not my uncles, but I wanted to make sure that my kids get to know who their uncles are.
And my friend Musa Fall too.
Yeah, Uncle Musa.
Yes.
And Auntie Yam, Auntie Yatu,
And Lai.
Auntie Mawa, and Uncle Lai.
Yes.
And, they will never call them by their names. They've always added the respect of calling them uncle so and so, auntie so and so. So that I learned from my dad, that we should know who our aunties are, who our uncles are. And I've always believed the saying in Wolof that says, "Su halel yarade ko dañ dee laajte ana nijaayam yi." They've helped a lot, because I remember Swaidu, my elder daughter, whenever she did wrong and I'm talking to her and I say, "I'm going to tell Nijai Shea," she would be so fearful that she would start kissing me, kissing my feet, so that I wouldn't tell Nijai Shea, because they know that Shea was a disciplinarian. So if you allow your siblings and your family and neighbors in to help guide and discipline your child, like it takes a village, you will come out with children that you would be thankful for.
So the advice to these young mothers out there now would be what? Because we live in a different generation now. We live in what I usually call the information technology age. What will you advise to these young moms out there today?
Number one, I know when I was in Gambia, the TV was available, movies come in, nobody vets, not understanding the fact that there are certain movies that are age appropriate. We neglect that a lot in the Gambia. Even when it comes to the theaters that we listen to from Senegal or we watch from Senegal, we should be able to know the age appropriate things that our young should be listening to or looking at. I would go into a compound and I would see that there were X-rated movies on and children are sitting everywhere. And I would ask them, don't you realize that these kids are here and this is not age appropriate? Then that's the time they say, "Demlen Teddy, Demlen."
Right.
Well, who knows how many of those have, they have seen. But I always say, well, I hope that from now on they would, vet what type of movies they watch. And as far as the information technology is concerned, I think they should, besides vetting and keeping them safe from the negative vices of these apparatus, I think they should be exposed to it in a way that is limited, so that it doesn't interfere with their schoolwork and stuff, because you can have them use these iPads and all these other gadgets on the weekends and let them read, because the reading part they have lagged behind. So reading would be one of the things that I would encourage them to do with their kids, and to allow others to help them raise their children around the home, and to have an open mind. When somebody criticizes your child, don't take it negatively, take it positively, and see what you can do and talk to that child. Because if they bring to your attention something that your child is doing, you should be able to take it in good faith and know that the person bringing it to me is doing it out of good faith. For example, I have a sister that has a friend whose child has two double lives that she's leading on the social network. As far as the Instagram is concerned. She has her own page, but then she has another separate page that the parents don't see. And some of the things that they do on those pages are really something that is not culturally acceptable as far as we as Gambians are concerned. We shouldn't forget our culture. I remember people telling me, you went to America and you spent 10, 12 years and you came back and you're able to assimilate back into the society. The answer is yes, because I knew what I left behind. I never forgot. When I'm in America, there are things that are acceptable I can do, but when I go home, it's a different story. And I just want to say it takes a village to raise the children, and they need it, because when they're here, we neglect teaching them our language, our culture, and we let them do anything. I am proud to say that the way I brought mine up, I was always able to let them know this is who we are. We are here to gain knowledge, to be better people, so that we can go home and help our country. I could also tell you there was a time when Mafude, my elder son, came to me, and he spoke in a way that is not considered English to me, using the language of the American, telling me, my bad. I bust on him.
The slang.
Yes, I said, no, I don't accept that. Speak English, because
Proper English.
proper English, because when you look at it, you can learn the slang, but when you go to a place to look for a job, you can't use that language.
It's not going to help you.
It's not going to help you. So we have to teach them to learn the proper way of doing things and the proper way of saying things. And it's important for you to teach your children your language. That language, if you look at it, say they're Americans, they were born here, and they happen to come at the age where they're applying for a job, and it's an international job, say, per se, and they are able to speak Wolof, and this job is in Senegal or Gambia. No matter how senior or how much better the other candidate is, with that language, you have a head start on it. So let's be proud to let them speak the language, so that when they go, they can talk to their grandparents. It's very sad when a grandparent cannot talk to their grandchildren because we neglected to teach them our language because we are abroad. So that's what I have to tell the young women who I can give advice to as far as their children are concerned, and remembering that we are Gambians no matter where we are.
I'd like to just fast forward a little bit. you have a very extensive resume when it comes to what you have done and the knowledge that you have, not only administratively but also in physical education. From 1977 all the way through 1986, you were involved a lot in sporting activities and even opened one of the, I would say, the most famous workout center, or
The first.
Oh,
the
the first,
first.
yes,
That was the
exactly.
first in the
Yeah.
Gambia that I
It
could
was
tell us.
unheard
Yeah.
of back in those days.
Yeah. Was it called what? Amina's Fitness?
Aminah's Health and
Amina's
Fitness
Health and
Center.
Fitness. Yes. What was the motivation behind that?
Well, besides the fact that I have my degree in physical education, I also had the opportunity to work before I went back to Gambia to gain experience. So I worked for a company called the European Health Spas, and it was a fitness center, and I was the service director in training the management on the importance of fitness so that they would be able to sell the product to the members that are interested in coming to the gym.
And where was this company?
It's right here in the US.
In the
They
US.
had one in Atlanta, was the first one that I went to. Then I had a promotion to the one that was in Alexandria, Virginia, and I ended up to the one in Springfield, Virginia.
Okay, so that brought about the setting up of Amina's Fitness.
That is correct.
Okay.
And it was a good thing because I felt that fitness fits everybody. For good health, there's there's nothing second to it. And I found out that, like everywhere else, we tend to lack in exercise, which was a contributing factor to some of the diseases that
Yes.
were creeping up on us because of our lifestyle. The lifestyle change from our previous generation who didn't have to the luxury of having cars or taxis and stuff. Most of the time they walked everywhere they go. And also there was, as far as the cooking and stuff like that, it was much healthier then than it is now, because we find ourselves having to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner by force
Yes.
when sometimes it is not necessary. And the way they cooked had changed. They used to cook, there wasn't too much oil that was used at the time. But then in our generation, we use a lot of oil, and we eat and sleep after work, which is just for old lions. Like I tell them, it's not for you and me. When you eat, you need to move about, because that's the time that the heart is working at filtering the nutritions from your system. And when you're asleep, the oil, the fats from the meat and other condiments that you use. And the other thing that made me go into doing that, I wanted to have the opportunity of having our sports for sports people to use the facility to develop in whatever sports they are interested in, because we lacked in season, off season, and post season conditioning in all of our sporting activities. And that's why we lacked a lot as far as soccer was concerned. It's only the time that they have a competition that they come to practice and get ready for it. So the gym encouraged some of them to be able to do their in-season, off-season, and post-season conditioning from me telling them the importance of those activities as far as their sports are concerned.
Awesome. And it ran from 1986 all the way to 2000, I think, almost 14 years.
Yes.
Why was it closed?
Because it was my, actually, when I left, I didn't close it. I leased it to another Gambian who was living in Sweden, Saul So. And I left because I wanted to be with my kids while they were here. I wanted to be here to guide them while they were going to school, because I felt like I needed my parents while I was here, but it was impossible for definitely my father or my mother to be here with me. But this is what I wanted to do because I knew what was here. The constraints I had, I didn't want them to go through it. So I left and leased the gym to Saul, and I came and to be with the kids, to help them gain a better footing on their education.
Right. But like with this industry that you were in, I'm pretty sure you were maybe one of the only women in Gambia that was doing this.
Yes.
You know, I mean, this was something that was unheard of back in those days.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges you had to go through with this profession?
Um, the challenges were not many really, but like our culture, they didn't think that because I'm a woman, I shouldn't be able to do such a profession.
But you were used to it because they used to call you a
I was
tomboy.
tomboy,
Right.
So for me, there was no challenge there. I just came and I pushed it down their throat. And I was able to show them and tell them the benefits of it, and they saw it. I had a column on the Observer, a fitness column that I used to write, and a lot of them read it, and it wasn't difficult having to convince them to come in and participate in getting healthy and fit. Yeah.
So who were like this center? Who was it accommodating to? Who were the people that were mostly into these health and fitness back in those days? You don't have to call names, but what kind of people were the ones that was it the international uh, folks who were representing the countries in the Gambia, or were Gambians themselves getting into it?
It's both,
Okay.
because I also had memberships for companies like I had the Ports Authority, GAMTEL, and what other company was there? Um, Alaji Musanjai
And
had,
sons.
yeah, and Sons, and Sankung Silla and Sons.
Mm.
He was there. His wives were there as well. So it was a broad range of people who had interest and knew the benefits of it.
Right. We have a lot to talk about. Looking at your resume, which is quite impressive. But I want us to go forward to Auntie Aminah Faal, the minister. How did it started? Were you called by Jame personally? What was the selection like? You been selected as a minister.
Um, well, I know at the time I was giving classes as well to the gendarmerie.
Okay.
They used to come to the gym for fitness training as well as martial arts.
Okay.
So I guess they knew me from that, and they came to me at a time when they took over as the APRC, and they sent somebody to come to me to tell me that they wanted me to represent the government in the capacity of Minister of Youth and Sports. So,
Do you remember who it was?
Cham, I believe his name was Cham, and he came, and I was really busy telling him and showing him what I was doing, the gym, because I lived in the facility and all of that. But what touched me to make me stop and think about it is the fact that he was telling me that I'm taking him around and I'm using the word I. But this is the Gambia that needs me now.
Mm.
And right there, it clicked that when your country calls,
You have to answer.
So I took over. And I'm glad I did, because I had the opportunity to represent the youth in a way that I felt they have been neglected. Because during my tenure, where I would say it was the first time that we have a youth center, which came about in the establishment of the National Youth Service Scheme. I felt that the youths were given the short end of the stick.
This was the NYSS,
Yeah,
right?
the NYSS.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the
Oh, okay.
NYSS did. We did a lot. We copied the same profile of the Nigerian
Nigerians.
NYSC.
Hmm.
Theirs is the NYSC. Theirs is second to none in the world because with that, the youths were taught how to be patriotic citizens of their countries. And they were also taught to be job creators rather than job seekers. So that's what we try to inculcate in the Gambia. When we started the National Youth Service Scheme, we were taking intakes at 100 at a time from all over the Gambia, from Banjul all the way to Basse-Coina. We had a orientation program where we picked the ones that we could work with, and we put them into the GTTI, where they learn skills like computer science, masonry, welding, and a whole lot more that was available at the time. And then the others who were interested in agriculture, we took them to SAPO and attached them to RIDEP, which is the Rice Development Program that was being headed by Sidi Jaju. And in that, we produced a lot of young people who were excited because they were learning trades that are going to be marketable on their own. And we have a lot of the kids that came from the electrical wiring graduates from GTTI, working for GUC, auto mechanics at Kotu Workshop, and those who did agriculture, they were able to be creators of their own, jobs, because when they did the the rice development, CD Jaju was having them to work with the NYSS rice field, and from the experience that within 90 days we had produced about 85 bags of rice, that opened up their eyes. So they started the second phase, and from the stipend that we were giving them, they were able to rent a plot from the locals, and then they would, when they finished working from the NYSS fields, they would go to their own fields and work, and they experience having to cultivate their own and having something like 10 bags, 15 bags of rice. They would take some home, and the other they would go to Sapo at the Lumo and sell. So those people were ready to take agriculture as their path. So the more kids we had, the better. And the NYSS is just something that is needed in Gambia.
Is it still in existence?
I have no clue. I'm not sure. But it was a good program, and I think it needs to be brought back because they can do so much. We had some that were the ones that were at GTTI and were doing auto mechanics and stuff. We wanted to open up the stadium because they have an auto workshop within the stadium that was underutilized, and we wanted to give it to them. And then when they finished, we wanted to give them seed money to set up their own. Another group that we wanted to bring in were those people who would sell bread. We wanted to ask the government to give away the selling of bread to the youth, like the boulanger that Senegal had one time when they had all those graduates from university and then they didn't have jobs. So that would have been one of the best things that we could have done for the young, because if they have their chaos, they could sell bread. At the same time, they would have people making akara and other little things that people use for lunch, and it would be added income for them.
Wow. Well, now, since we're still on the topic of youths, now the biggest problem we have with our youths back home is the back way. Yeah, we've lost a lot of our brothers and sisters in the Mediterranean and the Sahara Desert, and You were the Minister of Youth and Sports back in '94 till '96.
Yeah.
If this was during your time, how will you handle this phenomenon that's going on right now with this back way? What do you think government can do? And you, as the minister, what will you do?
Um, if I was still there, I would say it wouldn't be happening because this NYSS was a way of getting the youths to be job creators rather than job seekers. Because all those different trades and skills that we were training them to acquire would have put them in place to be able to produce, to be able to earn income to take care of their families, because that's one of the problems. They wanted to take care of their families, but they couldn't because there were no jobs. But unfortunately, the NYSS, the former head of state, was using them in other forms to go and farm for him rather than for themselves. So I feel that we would have had a lot of kids that would have been knowledgeable in doing electrical wiring or, and most electrical work. Because with buildings or on their own, there could be technicians in managing to be able to work with computers, electronics and all these things. But it didn't go far. It looks like at the end they lost track of where they were going. In the farming, they would have been able to farm, and in the young ones, the women, the young ladies, and as well as young men were taught how to do sewing. We also had a sewing center at the NYSS to teach them how to sew, because most of the people that do those jobs in Gambia are from Senegal. That would have been an opportunity for them to do that. And also masonry job. They would have been able to get jobs. Auto mechanics, they would have been able to be the ones who are, taking charge of that skill.
Now, you also played a role in what is now known, or then, because we have a new government now, the Foot and Puff, organizing the youths and having the festival. How did that came about while you were there?
Actually, the Foot and Puff was in Foot and Puff. It was in the Roots Festival.
Okay.
The homecoming.
Roots Homecoming Festival.
Roots Homecoming Festival for the African Americans to come into Africa and invest, and also to support, have businesses here and make our economy better.
Right.
So, because I, as a young woman, when the Roots came out here in the US, Alex Haley's Roots, I come to realize that Senegal was getting more of it than we were, because they would sell it in a tourist package by saying that, Roots, Jufure was in Senegal, and they made their own package.
Oh.
And I was seeing this all throughout my stay in the US. And when they go and come, some people who know me, African Americans that came, they were looking at it as if it was in Senegal, from Senegal, and they really used it to their best interest. And yes, and why not? Rightly so, because if we are not going to be able to market it as Gambian, somebody else would see, a way in, and they will take it. So when I had the opportunity, I decided with Dr. Manuel Pearson, God bless his soul, he passed away. He worked with our ministry together with FACES. It's African American organization that's in Michigan. And we were able to sell it to the African Americans through the reviving of the national troop. We revived the national troop because that was also not in existence when we went. So we revived the troop, and we were led into the US through the FACES, Dr. Manuel Pearson's organization. They brought us to an activity that was taking place in Middletown, Ohio, featuring the Gambia and Senegal. So we brought our troop and we participated in there. And from there, he decided that he was going to take us to the historically black colleges to participate in doing a cultural program with them and to sell Gambia so that we can come up with people who would be interested in coming to Gambia to attend the Roots Festival. So we did that, and we were able to have at least 200 from our participation in these different cultural programs at the historically black colleges. We have 200 African Americans that were ready to come. And most of those 200 were well-to-do. They were very wealthy people who were ready to come in and invest because we already had one family, the Adams family, that did a program with Penyam Village. They have a water reservoir that they built, and they were able to take, water pipes to all the little compounds that were at Penyam Village, something like that. And also the President Award Scheme, they were able to build a hostel for them to help the youths to gain, some form of income through the President Award Scheme. So that's how this Futam Pact came out of nowhere after I left. The head of state decided to make it into something different, but that was not the original reason why
It was formed.
it was formed. It was formed for African Americans to find their roots back to the Gambia.
If there is one thing that you can remember vividly about working with Jammeh, what would that be? What kind of a person was he?
I know one thing. At the beginning, he was not interested in becoming president, but the outside interest forced him through by some people. I don't want to name their names, but they wrote a manifesto for him in one night and gave it to him. Then they came up with what they called the Vision 2020, which was also not our vision. It was a Malaysian thing, but the person who brought it up removed everything that, every name of Malaysia from the document and put
made it
Gambia.
Gambian.
Yeah, so that's
So
why
it was
never,
pretty much plagiarized.
Yeah, it was plagiarized. Nobody, that's why we were not able to take off with it, and that's why still they're just talking about Vision 2020. That never was. At the beginning, he would listen, but power is something that can be more powerful than an individual when you have it. So.
Is there anything in particular you remember about him today when you sit back and, in retrospect, and see, I knew this was happening when he started changing and became the dictator that he was up to the time that he was taken out of power? Is there anything that you recall about him that didn't surprise you when it all started?
Yeah, I would say one. I remember coming from the Olympics in Atlanta, and I had taken the troop also again to Atlanta for the Olympics, and we visited Marietta, and we visited the mayor over there, and they gave me a key to one of the places that we visited, that is Kennesaw in Georgia. And when I came and I did the presentation in cabinet, he felt that the key belongs to him, so he took it. So he always, had this, I would say, an inferiority complex about people who are educated. He didn't care whether you had a master's degree or whether you were a PhD. He always referred to things like that in cabinet.
So how were the cabinet meetings back then?
At the beginning, it was chaotic. Believe me, because he tends to be the person who knows everything. Even when you present your paper, he tries to tell you how you're supposed to do it, and always come out wrong. Always come out wrong.
Has he ever admitted being wrong?
Not to my knowledge. to my knowledge.
So when you left, was there a reason given to you up to now? Do you know why?
No, I feel like I needed to go back to my gym.
Okay, so you just couldn't handle it.
No.
You resigned.
Okay,
Yes.
and after that, because normally people are scared to resign. You did something that most people don't.
Well, the thing is,
You had
Jame would never let you go, even if you say you resign. He would always write you a letter.
Oh, that's how it is.
That's how he does.
as if he's the one
Yes,
firing you.
As if
yes,
you are
Yeah.
being fired.
yes. Because I told them I'm only here because I'm doing the transition. I have always told him that my job is up to the transition. After the transition, I'm going back to my gym because I felt that people paid money
Mm-hmm.
to me, but because I wanted to represent my, answer to the call for my country, I decided to take it up. But he always knew, but he would never give you the satisfaction of saying that you left.
Now after that, were there any retributions directly to
No,
you or anything?
I'm thankful.
Nothing happened.
No, because I was asked to hold the position after all the positions were announced. I went to work for 3 weeks until he found somebody he can put there, and called me and told me to hand over to Baju. That's when I handed over to Baju.
With your experience dealing with people in the sporting field and working in the ministry, now we have a new government. What would be your message to the new government, especially when it comes to the youth, where you've worked and knew about?
I would definitely advise them to revive the National Youth Service Scheme and to make sure that they get their technicians from Nigeria, like we did, to come in and teach us how to get to where they are. Because in Nigeria, not just the agriculture part and the skills of electrical masonry and so forth. They had a garment factory. They had a tie and dye factory. They they had a school, like a nursery school. All these were generating income for the youth. They had a car park where the youths own it. Like, we have these car parks that take people from Ganju to Serekunda. And they would come in, they would build a car park somewhere, and people will use it. The drivers, when they come, they pay and get in, they load and go out. Whenever they come back, every load, they gain some income from it.
And it goes to the youth service.
To the youth
Wow.
service, yes. And then, when they come home from studies abroad, you have to go through the National Youth Service Scheme before you are given a job, because you have to know your people in order to rule them. Because the NYSS was not just a place where we teach them skills. We also made them learn about their people, because we brought people from Basse into the Greater Banjul area, took the people from Greater Banjul area to go up to Basse and all the other, neighboring divisions that are within the country. They were learning from each other, and like I said, the ones that were in Sapo, learning from the RIDEP, the rice development. I made them stay with the people in Saruja. They were living with different families because I wanted them to have that rapport, to know the people. So they were, the villagers were very happy because the youths were able to live there as if it is their own home.
Exactly.
They lived the life that they lived.
Know what they
know what they go through. They would get up in the morning. The girls will help to pound coos and make porridge. Whereas in the Greater Banjul area, everything is pre-processed for us. We go and buy bread, and then But these people have to, pound their coos, make the coos balls and cook it
everything from scratch.
And then they also were able to leave something there with them. The imam was happy because the young boys, when they have funerals, they would come in and help carry the body and dig in and all of that. They worked with the people. So this was one of the things that I felt was good for them, because you have to know your people in order to rule them. We also had a program where we were ready to take the kids to go to Bansang Hospital to clean the area, sweep, take out the cobwebs, and all of those things we did with the youth, so that they would be, of service to their people. There is a lot, we can do with the youth service scheme. There is so much that we can learn from the Nigerian plan, that I recommend very highly that they revive the National Youth Service Scheme, because we taught them discipline.
Awesome.
And we also taught them what it means to be patriotic to your country. That first you are a citizen of the world, a Gambian, before you had your name being Momodu Job or Abdullah Jane or whatever. So when it comes to patriotism, you should be patriotic to Gambia. So that was lacking. We really had a program that was chaperoning the youths into a very dynamic way of living as a Gambian.
How about that? So in terms of sports now, what were some of the sports programs you guys had back in those days? Were you involved in the Zone 2 1997 organization, or you were already out by then?
1997, I was out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
the
what
one
were some
I,
of
the one that I, was able to be a part of is the Amilcar Cabral football tournament.
Yes.
That's in that was in Mauritania. That one, I think our young were very much in the right footing, because they did very well. Their coaches then, we were able to relate, because I know Silla, Alaji Silla, the in-season, off-season, post-season conditioning that he did with the football team really paid off, because they went all the way up to I think quarterfinals, and then they had to sit down. But the incentive, if it was there, I think they, it would have pushed them a notch. I remember suggesting to the then minister to promise them a plot of land so that it would boost their morale and they would be ready to fight for it. But unfortunately, his understanding of that was that no, because they are going to sell it and go abroad, which I thought it should be even better, because when they go abroad and they're able to develop their skills, we can always use them.
Exactly.
So that was a dead end that I came across that was unfavorable for the youth. I think we really have to be able to look out for the, the interests of the youth.
Now, Mr. Henry Gomez is going to be listening to this. He's the current Minister of Youth and Sports. He was my neighbor. He was my elder brother. What will you tell him that he needs to do?
He needs to go and visit the NYSS, visit the youth policy, the sports policy, which we have made during my time. We also have a document on working with young people in the Gambia. If he goes to the files, he will be able to implement the best programs for the youths of Gambia. And he will be able to retain them and help them to stay home and be job creators rather than job seekers, which is the best that we can do for our youth.
Awesome. Well, I want you to take us back, because there's no better person to tell us about this than you. You've lived it and worked there. We've heard about so many bureaucracy that goes around when it comes to the ministerial positions. Let's say the Minister of Youth and Sports, they have what is called permanent secretary. The word permanent alone just is enough. Like, nothing can be permanent when it comes to government.
Yes.
What was it like with the bureaucracy and everything, the permanent secretary, the minister? What are the roles, and what are some of the things that could cause corruption within those particular settings?
Number one, I feel that, like you said, there is nothing permanent. For example, when I went in to, appointed as minister, I never had any training or anything to run that would give me a way to run a new ministry. But I was able to sit down in 1 week and go through 66 files to give me an idea of what is going on in my ministry and how I can better do my job of what is expected of me. The permanent secretaries, like the ministers, should be somebody that comes in with the minister, and when the minister is going, I mean, all the technocrats. That's the way I feel, because the experience I have with seeing what they do, I don't think it is to the benefit of our country. The corruption is abundant. I saw that almost 99.9% of all the vendors that sell to government are either linked to the permanent secretary or somebody within the ministry in the technocrat, what do I say? The technocrat people.
Yeah.
So they inflate prices when it comes to buying
Goods and
goods
services.
and services for the ministry, and they get their kickbacks. So I can give examples like I saw that in my ministry at one time, the first time I come to realize what this is all, what the corrupt practices are. I had a permanent secretary that ordered the goods that we need, but all of them were inflated at an exorbitant amount. And sometimes nobody is there to check them because they are the accounting officers. I feel that we need to let the new government look into how we can change that process. I feel that when the way we change the minister, we should change the technocrats. If a head of state comes in, they come in with their own people, just like in Senegal and in the US. When you go with your people. This is the way we could share the power, the wealth, and the positions. There are a lot of Gambians, graduates all over in all walks of life. They want to have a chance to also work in the government. And by us changing all these at different times, it will give us the opportunity for us to build up our private sector, because the private sector is not vibrant. You know, they would learn to do other things besides just working for government, because that's the only job that, you know, we see when we come. Everybody wants to work for government. There is no private sector that's vibrant. And accountability would be better. The corruption would be less. Because definitely anybody can do a job if you are qualified for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You have the knowledge, you have the experience, and no surprising, anybody who's watching the video today will see that Auntie Aminah hasn't changed. Maybe it's the sport in you. So she still looks young
Yes.
for her age.
Yes.
Now today, if President Barrow picks up the phone and calls you to go and serve in the government, would you go?
I'd rather be an advisor.
In
At
what
my
capacity?
age.
In what capacity?
Advisor for youth
Youth and sport.
and sports. I would just advise. I would even do it for free.
Okay.
You know.
That's
but
good
I'd be-
to know.
Yes,
Because it's a transition where they need all the experience they can
yes,
get.
definitely.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind doing that, because really we need to change. The government need to change.
It's a new government. You've been with the previous one. For those going home, those who are excited about this government, what would be your advice to them?
I would advise for them to have patience with the new government. This is a transition government. They are here to put in place the working mechanisms that are needed for the different factors that makes up the government, for the Gambian people to be able to take charge and make sure that our affairs are done in a way that is pleasing to the people. You know, patience is all I ask. Patience, patience,
Yes.
patience,
Yes.
and know that they are there because they love the country just like you do. I hear young people getting excited. We have to do this, we have to do that. Yes. But in order for us to do that, we have to remedy the wrong that is already there. The Constitution has been messed with left, right, and center. And the changes that need to be done, they have to do. But I also feel that the young people can go in and, like they said, they need technocrats to be, what's the position again? The mayors and
Yeah.
and
Permanent secretary. Oh, you talking
no,
about
the
National Assembly members?
Assembly members.
Yeah.
They want technocrats to be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So you young people can go and stand in your different constituencies and have a voice in the
In the National Assembly.
yes, in the national. So just like Tom Anjai is doing, she's listening to advice and she's taking it up, and I feel that the rest of the kids
Will follow.
will follow.
Also. Now, one thing I forgot to mention about was in sports. In the 80s, you used to hear a lot about the Gambian national basketball team. It has just faded away.
I know.
Why do you think so? And from 1982 to 1986, you led them and even coach.
Yes.
So what was the difference then and now, and how could that be revived?
It's the commitment. It's the commitment that we need. People who take up these positions are usually somebody who probably had an interest in sports, and the knowledge also must be there for the coaching. And we, during my time, we had Sonny Aladejo and Donald Sock. They were also fans and played. They also played basketball, but they had a commitment that was genuine. So they were able to help guide the youth as far as the basketball was concerned. I taught at St. Joseph's High School, and with my experience, I also was able to foster the interest and also the skills that is needed for them to be able to excel in the sport. We need a lot of people who are graduates from university or junior colleges in physical education,
Yes.
because it's very important. It's a subject that you can teach in the classroom and outside the classroom.
Right. Now, in terms of physical education, I mean, it's not something that girls back home think about, of doing in college. What will you tell a young girl out there now in Gambia who's interested in sports? What advice will you give them if they want to pursue physical education as a career?
I would tell them to go for it, because physical education is not just the sports part. It's also teaching the individual about how to develop physically, and it's not just, it's also about health.
Yes.
You teach them about health, personal hygiene, which I was able to do. I was teaching physical education, but at the same time, I was doing family life education, with the young. I was able to, work with them as far as personal hygiene and nutrition, and also how to stay healthy and fit, and the importance of it and the benefits of it. So go for it. You can open up a fitness center, you can be a nutritionist, you can be a personal trainer, and all this is money.
Give us a health tip for the benefit of us and our listeners. Like what should we do, especially those of us who are here? Everything you drive.
Yes.
At least back home you will work, you will run or take a stroll. But here, if I have to leave my house to come to Auntie Aminah's house, I have to drive, even if it is just 1 mile.
Yes.
So what will be the health tip of the day that you will advise, especially us here?
Find time to exercise. Change your eating habits and your lifestyle. Changing your lifestyle is exercising.
Okay.
And
example, like what can
walk.
you
Walking
okay.
is a good way to exercise.
It is.
It doesn't have to be physical exhaustion at all. You know, you can do leisure work after you eat, don't sleep.
Most people, because most people
Find
will
yourself.
pay. Most people even pay for the gym, but they don't go.
Yeah, that happens.
Every month you pay $20, $30, but you never even see the door of the gym.
I am guilty of that.
So what will motivate somebody to start doing anything physical?
If you don't want to grow old, to use all your money to pay to a doctor rather than enjoying your money,
Right.
then you don't exercise. But if
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're healthy, you live a long life. When I say, sometimes I say you add years to your life, not the number of days that you live, but old age will come and you'll still be able to do the things that you want
That's
to do
right.
normally.
That's
That's
right.
how you add years to your life.
Right.
Rather than the number of days. It's adding the quality of life.
Right. Now, moving on to another aspect of the Gambia. We saw what happened yesterday.
Yes.
The Independence Day was yesterday. The inauguration also. I mean, what's your take on the whole thing that happened from the elections all the way to this inauguration yesterday? You know, how would you describe that?
It was phenomenal.
Mm.
Gambia is a force to be reckoned with. What happened in Gambia in the past months has never happened anywhere. And we must take this running. Number one, I feel that with this, our tourist sector would be so vibrant that it will cater for a lot of opportunities for job creation, to be able to create jobs for the youth as well as for individuals who have projects or know how to set up something that is attractive to the youth, to the tourist sector. In this, we can employ the youth to help. And I feel that looking at Gambia yesterday with our flag flying high, it's been a long time since we've seen that flag fly high. It was very emotional
Yes.
for me. Held back tears at some point, and at some point I just let them roll.
I did too.
Yes, because I mean, we have gone through 22 years of hell. Yes, because our rights were trampled on. We had no freedom of speech, and we had somebody who was a dictator who only sees his way or the highway, and that doesn't make a good governance. He suppressed the people. I saw the people when I went, because I had the opportunity to go. I saw people were walking, and even the way they walked has changed. Their heads were up high, and they were just gleeful.
Freedom.
You could see it in their
Right.
demeanor. And the youth, they have very high hopes for this government. And I pray to God that those people around the head of state are committed in taking the country where these youths are hoping that it goes to, so that they'll be part of it.
What's your advice to Mr. Adam Barrow, Mr. President?
Mr.
What will you tell him?
Well, I must say, have an open mind and allow criticism to come in. Have a thick skin doing it. And we want you to know that the Gambians are behind you. And we look forward to putting our knowledge and our skills to work with your government by all means necessary. We pray for you and hope that you will take us to the land of freedom and no more tyranny.
And if you're watching, she said she will even offer her services for
For
free.
free.
She doesn't want to work for the government. She got a lot on her hands now, but she will offer it for free. So we hope the call will be made, because we need all the help we can get to take Gambia forward.
So, is there any last word you want to throw out to the Gambians out there, those in the diaspora and those back home also? You know, what will you tell them?
Those in the diaspora, I'm just going to say that all those who feel that they have something to offer back home, to try by all means necessary to make plans and go and help. And those who are out here, let's put our hands together and be ready to help in all forms. We saw the other day the young people who were in an accident. They were in the hospital and they were using cardboards to tie their legs and stuff like that. If there is any way, any organization or any hospitals that you may because I know a lot of Gambians are working in the health sector here. If there is any way you can get equipment to send home, bandages, as simple as hydrogen peroxide, cleaning materials for the hospital, anything, please take it up and send it home. I also want to say that let's be patient with each other. Let's try and know that this government that we have chaperoned in this era is here for us. And with patience, we can help them to get through these 3 or whatever years that they have to make changes for us. I love you all and hope that the love of country will make us come together as one. Thank you.
Well, that will do it for this edition of For the Gambia Show. It's been a pleasure having Auntie Aminah Faal Sonko with us. Till we come your way again, stay Gambian and be true Gambians.
Thank you.